The average American says they need to earn $233,000 a year to be financially comfortable. But in 2021,
Debatable.
American workers on average made only $75,203 annually.
Americans are sort of looking at how much money they would like to have to be financially.
I want to have money to make me stable. Right? Is that how to ask? Like, can I just have a job that helps me just live life to life? I mean, I like to live comfortable, right? I mean, is that so much to ask for?
Financially secure, and that ends up being basically 3 times what the average income is in this country. And to be essentially wealthy or really successful, it's magnitudes above that.
72% of Americans said they weren't financially secure, given that.
I would imagine that number is probably a lot higher. They're probably just lying to you. 72% is a huge number, but I would imagine it's probably closer to maybe 76, 77. Because, I mean, when you think about it, they want to make it a bit less than what they actually have on the test results. So I would imagine, like I said, the number is probably 75, 76, 77% of Americans.
Their current finances. And more than a quarter of Americans said they'll likely never be financial.
No, I'm pretty sure if the number is... If the number was... Let me go back. Okay, so if the number was 72% of Americans said they weren't financially secure given their current finances, there is no way only 26% of them said that Americans said they're lucky to never be. I imagine all 72% of those people all said that they would never be financially good. Because if you know you're not, secure enough, you'll never be. So this number right here should be a lot higher.
By the numbers, their debt is lower and their savings are higher coming out of the pandemic, but they're more anxious about what's going to happen next, if they have job stability, if they're going to be able to have secure retirement.
I know a lot of people around me that are a lot older, and the age range around 60 to above, and they're just having to work because they can't afford retirement. Retirement's too expensive. The inflation's just way too high.
Well over half of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Many are failing to meet some of their modest financial goals.
There are actually millions of people.
Is it even possible with a basic 9-to-5 job to make it these days? I'm pretty sure it's not. Right?
Struggling. It's not something that people want to talk about, but if you're in a place where your financial security feels super precarious, you're not alone. And it's not your fault.
So how did it become...
Oh, I'm not alone. Every night I talk to my brother. I'm like, hey, look. I'm struggling. All right, I'm barely affording life. Like I struggle to buy crackers for my chili, right? It's honestly sad.
So difficult to be financially secure in America. And what can you do about it? Let's do some budgeting. Americans working full-time earned a median monthly income of about $4,400 during the second quarter of 2020.
I wish I made that. I really wish I did. I worked 40 hours a week. Didn't even make that.
23. The average...
Because, let's see. Let me grab my calculator. Right? So let's say, what's $8 an hour times 40 hours a week? That's $320. Let's see, and then do that for 4 times a week. That's barely $1,200, right? Where are you getting the average $100 for the budget? That's...
worker takes home 75.2% of gross wages after taxes and benefits, shrinking the take-home pay to about $3,000.
Okay, yeah, no, that's still not like even with a partner. Let's say they have the same pay, right? So let's just double that. Just $2,500. You're off by about $700
and $388. And that just isn't enough to cover the cost of living in America today.
Okay, so for example, right? Okay, so my gas is about $70, for 2 weeks. All right, so let's do $140 for a whole month. I think I spend about $25 to $30 in groceries every week. So 30, 60, 90, 120. So plus another 20, plus 800 in rent, plus another 100 in car insurance. That's literally, if it was just my picture alone, I'm paying all the bills. I ain't got no money left over for anything else.
The cost of healthcare that has skyrocketed. The cost
Oh,
of
that's not even talking about healthcare.
attending college has skyrocketed.
I don't even have insurance, right?
The cost of purchasing a home has skyrocketed. But nowhere has anyone said wage growth is up 15%, right?
Nope. Every job around me, minimum wage. If not, if either it's minimum wage, $8 an hour, $9 an hour. They won't pay 10 or above. Nope.
Take a look at some of the
And I live in a pretty busy town, so like most jobs that require a degree, will pay about $11 or $12 an hour. But even at $11 or $12 an hour, so if I went to college for about 4 years to get a good degree, so 11 times my 40 hours, right? Times if I get paid bi-weekly, I'm barely getting an increase. I'm only getting about $500 more, if that, right?
most essential expenses for Americans. The median monthly rent in the US is $2,029 as of June 2023. That amount already accounts for over 46% of the Americans' median pre-tax
Yep, that is true.
income.
That number does seem about right. That does seem about right. So I'll let this slide.
But most US agencies classify spending more than 30% of one's gross monthly income on rent as being rent burdened. Meanwhile,
Oh, yeah, another thing, because of the housing economy, everybody wants to rent now because it's so expensive and it makes good money. That if you're renting, yeah, your life's over. Just know you can recover from that.
median mortgage payment for a 2,400 square foot house was $1,957
Is that right? I'm gonna assume so.
per month. However, a common rule of thumb advises spending 28% or less of your pre-tax income on mortgage payments. For the median gross monthly earnings, that translates to just $1,232.
As we talk to households and talk to consumers out in the real world, especially those, say, under 40, housing is the big issue. Rent.
Yeah, I wonder why. Because nobody wants you to live. Everybody wants you to struggle. All your money goes to bills, and that's it. Can't have anything else. Even if you put all your money to bills, you still struggle. You can't make bills. It's just impossible.
Mortgage. It is the...
Because for me, while it is rent and mortgage, it's mostly also groceries. Because like, how can I afford all my bills when I can't even afford groceries, right?
biggest concern that people aren't going to be able to make the next payment.
Inflation is really hurting individuals having stability in their housing. And I think sometimes we underestimate that if you have uncertainty in your housing, it causes uncertainty everywhere.
At this point, like, if you don't have roommates, you ain't gonna go far in life. And it is really unfortunate.
Housing is also the reason why cities have become more difficult to afford.
But it's not just big cities. It's everywhere you go. Because like I said in my stream earlier, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with half an acre, almost $1 million where I live, almost $1 million. And it's every property because they're all buying it up, the same company, and they're selling it for like 30 times the price of the original value. It's messed up.
Americans said it would require more than $1 million in net worth to be financially comfortable in places like San Francisco, New York.
Nah, San Francisco, nope, a lot more higher. Because like I said, where I live, middle of nowhere, this number is gonna be a lot higher. Trust me.
Southern California.
This is why we've seen some migration or mobility around the country where some people say, I'm living in a high-cost state like California or New York. We really want to sort of pack up and go to an area that's less expensive. And one of the ironies of that is those places that were cheap.
1 in 4. Pretty sure it's more than that, actually. Everybody wants to move. I hear from everybody. Everybody wants to move.
Cheaper before.
Because if it's 1 in 4, then I'm just very lucky. Because I'm pretty sure that this number is supposed to be 3 to 4.
Are now becoming.
Because I mean, but it's the honest truth. Most people just want to move because if you stay in one state for most of your life, you can get bored of it. So I mean, it is actually very common for the average American to actually want to move.
Expensive.
Americans spend on average $690.75 on food every month.
I mean, I don't know if that's correct because, like I said, I mean, well, okay. Let's see if you can get a family of 5, right? A family of 5. Let's put the average number. 3 children, 2 adults. So let's see, how do I calculate that? We could say, I guess there's 5, I take 30, so 30 times 5, so about, $3 per person, 150 times 4. 600, so they're adding about $90, I guess, because you're already adding inflation, so I guess they are kind of right.
According to the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that amount is significantly higher than any
Wait, okay, hold on a second. So, wow.
USDA's estimated grocery bills, including more generous and liberal food plans. Add the out-of-pocket health expenditures that cost the average Americans $96.42 every month, and you get a total expense of $2,816.17 for renters, and
Wow, that number is absolutely crazy. How is this acceptable? I don't know. Because food is right. That number is pretty close. Rent, I guess that's close as the current economy.
$1,744.17 for homeowners. That amount already accounts for 85% of the median take-home pay for average American renters, and over 82% for an average homeowner. This is excluding other essential expenses like transportation, childcare, and debt payments.
Yeah, that's not including like college expenses, stuff like that. Because if I was including my current college expenses, right? Let's see. Well, that's about $260 per week, so times 4. Yeah.
Many Americans are really struggling with just the increase of costs of living and food and housing. Utility bills have gone up. Car insurance has gone up. Homeowners insurance has gone up. And how can they pay for them but also meet other goals that they have to?
You know, they make fun of us, Gen Z, for sleeping still sleeping at our parents' houses because we can't afford a new house. Well, that's because our jobs are not paying us enough, and the housing economy is crap.
Budgeting experts advise Americans to spend just 50% of their net income on essentials, 30% on
Wants? Nah, it should be a lot smaller. I only say 5%.
wants, and 20%
That way we have an increase about 25%. So we have 45% of savings.
on savings or paying off debt.
We see that allocation shifting significantly where people are spending 75% of their take home just on needs, which leaves very little for wants and very little for saving for your financial future. So
Exactly what I've been saying.
depending upon where you live and of course your income, many Americans really cannot meet that target allocation.
So much of managing your financial life in America today
They take it to school, right? Take it to college, and you get to 8 years, get a degree, get a good job. But by the time you make that degree, you're already 6 feet under.
is like drinking from a fire hose. I think many households are not able to show up and impose a framework of their own design onto their finances. Many are still in this reactionary space where they're just trying to figure out how to make ends meet.
The Federal Reserve has implemented 11 interest rate hikes to combat inflation since March 2022.
Crazy thing is, I don't use a credit card. For the sole purpose, I don't want credit debt. It is a serious thing, and I don't want that.
But more than a third of Americans said rising interest rates kept them from financial comfort.
Higher interest rates really can stand in the way of affordability for many financial
And that's the thing. Annual bills you get for your credit card, annual fees. I don't like those. It's a scam.
activities or decisions that people want to engage in, and home purchases is sort of at the top of that list.
Look at the person who was going to buy a house that was, let's say, $375,000 2 years ago. Their monthly payment would have been less than $2,000. Now it's about $3,400, and it's the same house, right? The only thing that has changed is the interest rate.
Purchasing a car is more expensive. It's more.
Oh, yeah. Used cars, a few years ago, used to be about $3,000, 3.5 grand, $4,000. Around $5,000 maximum for a good used car. Now a good used car, almost $10,000, literally doubled. Crazy. I've been wanting a car so bad right now because it really helps out. But now I'll just walk.
Expensive to maintain a balance on a credit card with the new offers for a credit card, even for the best qualified individual, being at 20.5%, and other people are paying closer to 30%.
The cost of capital is going up very rapidly, and many of the kind of toeholds we saw for lower income households was because they were having access to credit and to home loans and to other things in a relatively flat economy where they.
I mean, I understand credit is good for credit scores and good loans, big loans, but like I said, I just can't do credit loans because I think it's a scam. Really, that's why I have no credit cards.
Still had a good job market. The ability to access credit both for small businesses and for households, is getting much harder as the financial system becomes more risk averse in that space.
Credit is essential because Americans don't have the savings to cover big expenses. More than 40% of Americans blamed insufficient retirement funds or emergency savings as the reason for financial.
You know, I had an ambulance a while back. $1,000 for one ambulance ride. Just one ambulance ride without insurance. $1,000.
Insecurity.
For a lot of people, just to feel financially better, they need some amount of savings. A lot of financial planners will say 3 months of your income. That's, for many people, just so overwhelming that they can't even begin to think about it.
More than half of
I wonder why. It's hard to put that much money in savings when most of your paycheck is going to bills and groceries. Absolutely unforgettable.
Didn't have at least 3 months of emergency expenses saved, including 22% that said they had no emergency savings at all.
Actually, I'm within that 22%. I have basically no savings whatsoever. I blame college and rent. I really do. And I also want to believe that number is a lot higher too.
It doesn't take
Most because of gamblers. I'm just joking. I'm sorry.
unemployment to really knock somebody out of whack with respect to their personal finances if they're among the many Americans who say they cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense and to pay that from their savings.
The reality is, if expenses are routinely higher than your income, you are not going to be able to put away meaningful sums. There are many, many households who do the verb of saving. You see money go into their account all the time. It just doesn't stay there because they are routinely hit with a need to grab that little bit of money and use it for some kind of income shock or unexpected expense or even
Exactly. Just know we can predict unknown expenses, but they always happen. Because literally, when in school, they would tell you to prepare for incoming unknown expenses because they always happen every month, and I don't know why.
unexpected expense.
36% of Americans said they had more credit card debt than emergency savings. According to Experian, an average American holds a debt balance of $96,370.
And that number might be a bit too big, but I can kind of believe it actually.
Which includes several loan products like credit cards, auto loans, and mortgages. More than a quarter of Americans said debt was what kept them from financial security.
Debt is a way of channeling some of our financial resources, and that can be a very effective tool. Many of us are fans of credit cards that have rewards, for example, but if you're not paying that principal or debt off within the billing cycle, that's when those double-digit percentage interest rates hit, and that can then exact a toll on the other aspects of your personal finances.
How do we properly address this so that people cannot be
Okay,
in this?
I want to read this. House, maintenance and repair, $23. I mean, I guess it depends where you live. I mean, some plumbers are pretty cheap. Some terminators are pretty cheap too. I guess leave that for right now. Home improvement, $380. Okay, that's actually reasonable. Utility bills, $474. I mean, my light bill ain't that crazy, but I guess when you're powering water, electricity, and other bills, I guess that'd be good for your savings. House insurance, $165. Wait, is that really that much? Let's see. House insurance. Oh, come on there. So the average cost is about, well, let's see, in Iowa it's about 1,686. In Idaho it's about 1,258. I guess so. Groceries are $1,200. Meals $500. Transportation. Okay, I mean all that.
Just focusing on paying debt and necessities, but can't even think about transitioning to that other 20%.
You know what? That's appropriate for a rainy day jar, $100 bill.
And creating an emergency savings, which causes financial stability, or even saving for retirement, which is
the fact that it's becoming more popular to have a emergency savings fund compared to having an actual savings account is absolutely insane.
Is the goal of creating future financial stability and retirement.
The fact that many Americans are living in financial insecurity poses a big risk to the economy as a whole.
There's a reason why we measure and monitor very closely things like consumer confidence or consumer sentiment, because what populates those data points are everyday measurements like inflation and the strength of the job market.
I think COVID really showed us that households, when they don't have a level of stability and security, are actually the primary foundation of whether the economy can be strong or not, because we are so based on consumer spending in this country.
Public policy can greatly improve Americans'
Joe Biden. Why is he here?
chances of achieving financial security.
So, for example, Social Security is the bedrock of most people's financial security in retirement. It's not the only source of their retirement income, but it keeps a lot of older people out of poverty. And we know that Social Security needs some reforms in order to maintain its same level of benefits. And then also anything we can do to make sure that employers are offering any kind of retirement savings opportunities, emergency savings opportunities at work, offering employees the ability to enroll in benefits, whether that's health insurance or insurance for life insurance or disability insurance. You know, employers are a key part of this too, and public policies play a big role in terms of what employers can offer and at what price they can afford it.
The household's willingness to work toward financial security is also important.
Ultimately, the answer here is that solutions have to be arrived at the macro level.
Nah, just ask the average American. Hey, how do you feel about today's economy? It's trash. Make it lower. Okay, we'll do that.
As well as the household level. And so at some...
Because to these bigger companies, you know, debt collectors, debt loaners, credit companies, they want money. So they want money. They don't give about the consumer. They just want money.
level, we all need to try to own our own financial success by managing our money as well as we can across the range of areas like emergency savings and retirement.
Financial advisors say the first step is to have a clear goal.
What do you want to achieve personally? What do you want to achieve at work? When do you want to retire?
When do I want to retire? Maybe when I'm 100 years old, because that's more reasonable. I like to be realistic.
What do you want to do for others? And write that down.
But the key to success
I can't afford paper. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
comes down to budgeting.
Everyone should budget. What we say is it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. And so think about and have some transparency of where is your money going. And then
Where's my money going? To America. To corrupt businesses that won't give it back. To the IRS.
make sure the budget that you have aligns with the goals that you wrote down. If you say you want to retire early, are you saving more to retire early? If you want to put your children through college, if you want to be debt free, are you paying more on your student loans? Are you paying more on your credit cards so you can be debt free? Make sure that your budget aligns with your goals.
There are actually millions of people struggling. It's not something that people want to talk about, but if you're in a place where your financial security feels super precarious, you're not alone. And it's not your fault.
Many people who have really high incomes and a lot of savings still feel financially anxious. So don't feel like this is your fault or something to do with the fact that your income isn't enough. You know, we all have to deal with this in different ways. And the most important thing you can do is just acknowledge that and deal with it and not try to avoid it.
Deal with it? You know, I would love to, if I could afford it. Because this economy, it really does suck. Because like I said, I think I spend about $2,000 a month just in bills and groceries. So like, again, this is the worst economy I've ever seen.